How's it going, guys? We are here today with another video on awesome rares that you can use when playing Raid Shadow Legends. Today we are going to be looking at the Ogryn tribe. We've got a wide variety of champions here, and this one actually surprised me at just how many hidden gems there were when it came to the Ogryn tribe. So as always, we are aiming for 50 subscribers, so if you like the video, please leave a like and subscribe. Share it with anyone who's starting Raid Shadow Legends or is looking for champions to help their cause. And let's get started. We are going to begin with none other than Rocktooth. His A1 puts an extra hit if critical, always nice to have. A2, increased crit rate on all allies for 1 turn. On a 3-turn cooldown, not ideal with it being only 1 turn. But could be helpful if you're not able to fully get that crit rate all the way up to 100%. You can use Lasting Blessings as a mastery to be able to get that possibly to even 2 turns. And then his A3 attacks an enemy, places 100% heal reduction for 2 turns. It is on a 3-turn cooldown, but having that guaranteed heal reduction, whether it's in Spider, or in Fire Knight, or in the Spirit Keep, or anywhere where you're just struggling on keeping the boss from regenning, it can be very helpful, and you build him a little bit faster than the boss, and he can come around to it and help your team in being able to make sure that that boss will not heal. Next up on the list, we are going to hop over to Pounder. A1 has a small chance of putting decreased defense for 2 turns, and his A2 books up to 100% chance of placing freeze for 1 turn. If the target has a freeze buff already, has a 25% chance of placing it on another enemy. So you're not going to have to worry about wasting it. Let's say you're trying to kill someone. It has a chance of putting it back over. But the real reason I included him on the list today is because of this passive. Increases the resistance of all allies by 15 for each active buff on this champion. Okay, his A1 and A2 do not buff him, but it can be rather easy to put buffs on him, and adding 15 resistance for each buff can be very helpful in the early game if you're needing to increase the resistance, or even the resistance for one specific champion who's like, let's say, a cleanser or whatnot. You can use that passive in creative ways to team him up with someone who can put a lot of buffs on, and therefore be able to increase the resistance of that team. Putting him in a shield set, or any sort of set that starts a game with a buff, or having someone that can just put a lot of buffs is a really great way to do that. Next up, we are going to hop over to none other than Magma Blood. His A1 has a small chance of stunning, 25% chance. His A2 attacks everyone and puts decreased accuracy. Has a 50% chance of doing that. However, it's his A3 that we're looking at. Attacks 2 times at random. Each hit has a 60, books up to 100% chance of placing a bomb debuff for 3 turns on a 5-turn cooldown. Now, you may be a little bit confused as to why we would do this. Out of all of the bomb champions in the game, this is arguably one of the worst. But the reason why I'm including him on the list is simply because in early game, bombs are very useful against a certain boss, and that boss is Bommel. Bombs do a lot more damage, and trying to get through Bommel on those early levels when you don't have someone designed to take out Bommel, having anything of this sort can be helpful. Being able to throw a couple Magma Bloods on your team, like 3 or 4, and then someone to clear waves, being able to get there and be able to throw those bombs out and take him out, it can be the difference between being able to progress in Doom Tower and get those needed resources or not. Next up, we will be hopping over to Roughstone. Now, A1 attacks all enemies. Really awesome chance to use like a stun set to be able to crowd control. His A2 attacks an enemy, destroys the target's max HP by 15% of the damage inflicted. His A3 attacks an enemy, ignores 50% of the target's defense, and then has a 50% chance of granting extra turn if the attack is critical. For rares, we're always looking for people to do damage. Having that 50% defense ignore built in can be very helpful when you're looking for someone who can just be a hard hitter in those early games. Now obviously he's not going to hit as hard as like a Taurus or a Baron, but when it comes to a simple rare, having that built in could be the difference between being able to win like an arena battle or not. So if you're looking for like an arena nuker, that there is a single target hitter on a 3-turn cooldown, but it could be helpful. Following Roughstone, we are going to hop over to Fury Stoker. Right here. His A1 attacks an enemy, 15% chance of placing extra hit. We always love that, a little bit of RNG to be able to go through and hit another time. His A2 removes all debuffs from a target ally, so cleanses one person and then heals the target by 20%. The heal increases according to the number of debuffs removed, and it can go from a 20 to a 40% heal. So a simple healer there can be good. Now his passive is the real reason. Heals the ally with the lowest HP by 7.5% each turn. The heal can be critical. Will not heal this champion. In the early game, any form of healing can be very helpful. Champions with a passive similar to this, you've got Seal of the Drakes, you've got Doom Priest, you've got Tuhanarok. It can be the difference between dying and staying alive. So being able to throw him in, let's say, a Relentless set. In the early game, you can get a couple pieces of Relentless by just simply doing a couple of the tournaments. You can go through and being able to get that chance of an extra turn. Each of his turns, he's going to be healing whoever's got the lowest HP. And so that 7.5% isn't anything to scoff at. It could help you a lot in the early game. Next up, we are going to hop over to Siegebreaker. A1, attacks an enemy 2 times. Very simple, we love it. A2, attacks an enemy, books up to 100% chance of placing block active skills if this attack is critical. Amazing. Block active skills will prevent the target from doing anything except for their A1. In the arena, it can be good because it can prevent a nuker from nuking your team. In a run, it can be good because it can prevent, let's say, a healer from healing the team or a reviver from reviving enemies. So having that chance on a 2-turn cooldown as well of blocking active skills, if you're running this guy at about 200 speed at least, he is going to lap most of the wave people and be able to just keep people locked out. And then his A3 puts increased attack on this champion for 2 turns and then attacks all enemies. Has a 50 books up to 75% chance of decreasing the turn meter by 30% if the attack is critical. Nice added to the kit. He's going to be able to go through and just control a bunch of the enemies that way. Hopping over from there, we are going to go next to Flesh Eater. A1 attacks an enemy, has a 25% chance of placing freeze on them. Small chance, but could be good. A2 attacks an enemy twice. Each crit decreases the target's turn meter by 15%. Right there. You build him with a 100% crit rate, and he can decrease the turn meter by 30%. Could be helpful once again in Spider, Ice Golem, or not Ice Golem, Fire Knight, or any of the areas where you just need to decrease turn meter. And then his A3 puts increased attack on all allies for 2 turns. Now, not one of the big kits that we are going absolutely crazy about, but when we're looking at rares, it is always good to look for useful things. Getting that a chance of putting that big version of increased attack on all allies Could be great for the arena for setting up your nuker and being able to make sure that they can kill the enemy team. Decreasing turn meter is always helpful no matter where you're looking, because there's plenty of vital spots where you need it. Next up, we will be going to Rock Beast. Void Affinity to begin with, meaning no weak hits. A1 attacks an enemy, books up to 75% chance of provoking them for 1 turn. Very useful right there off the bat, having a chance to provoke. We always love that. His A2 fills the turn meter by 50%. It puts increased defense on this champion for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. So he's constantly going to have that increased defense up, which is great with that provoke there. It's going to reduce the amount of damage he takes. And his A3 attacks all enemies, books up to 100% chance, putting the big version of decreased speed for 1 turn. That is on a 4-turn cooldown. But he's going to be able to basically go through and crowd control the enemy team. Going to keep himself tanky with this increased defense. He's going to go through and he's going to be provoking champions and then slowing them down. So you build him with some accuracy, some speed, and then just tankiness. He's going to help your team continue through. Next up, we're going to go to one of the favorites, Bellower, also known as Campaign Farmer. His A1 is an AoE, small chance of putting block active skills for 1 turn. His A2 attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance of putting a small version of decreased speed for 2 turns. And then his A3 attacks all enemies, has a books up to 100% chance of putting the small version of decreased attack and decreased defense on all enemies. Okay? He's got a speed in Faction Crypt's aura. He can hit hard. He's great for campaign farming because of all those AoEs. You build him fast and you build him with the ability to go through and lap the enemies, and he can clear those ways, allowing for a 7-second farm. He's also really nice with the blessing. Let me pull it up if I can get it. Don't have him on this account, sadly, but there's a blessing called Nature's Bounty, and it has a chance of taking a small debuff, or the weaker version of the debuff, and increasing it to a stronger version. And so all of those weaker versions of, the decreased defense and decreased attack and the decreased speed have a chance of becoming the big ones. He benefits a lot with it. Next up will be Gear Grinder. A1 puts a continuous heal on this champion for 1 turn if he crits, so it's going to allow him to stay alive. Now, why do we want him alive? Well, his A2 heals all allies by 15% of their max HP. It's on a 3-turn cooldown, and it goes up to 35%. And then his A3 is a revives a dead ally with 50% HP, 50% turn meter on a 5-turn cooldown. So you build him with a 100% crit rate if you want that continuous heal on him, and then build him fast and tanky, and he can keep your guys alive by providing that healing and providing that revive in case, let's say, someone dies. I use him on my Faction Wars team on my main account, and the number of times that he has made the difference between losing a champion at the very end and keeping them alive has been amazing. And then last but not least, we're going to go with Michaelis. A1 attacks an enemy, heals his champion by 30% of the damage inflicted, and also heals the ally with the lowest HP by 10% of their max HP. Okay? So right there, A1 that heals your allies. We love that. It's a great way to go through and basically keep them alive. But we're really going here for this A2. Puts a shield on this champion for 2 turns equal to 20% of their max HP, and then places an ally protection. It is a small version on all allies except this champion for 2 turns, and then heals all allies except this champion by 10% of their max HP. However, it is on a 3-turn cooldown. Ally protection is key for the early versions of Clan Boss. It is how you manage to stay alive. So you can build this guy fast and tanky. Don't have to worry about anything for like damage stuff or accuracy. And with that 3-turn cooldown for 2 turns, as long as he is taking 3 turns for every 2 turns that your allies are taking, he is going to take 20% of the damage that they take anytime they're hit. And it will allow you to keep going through. Once again, appreciate you being here. If you've used any of these champions, or if I skipped over any that you have used and enjoyed, please let me know in the comments. We enjoy having you here. Keep on raiding.